Women in Ministry, an anthology by Stephanie M. Seaton, featuring co-authors Apostle Patrick L. Taylor, Pastor Latoya Harris, Minister Melody Carter, Elder-elect Nathaniah Simeon, Tracy D. Hill, Elena Maria, and Tanisha Priolo, a powerful collection of testimonies, faith, and purpose. Women in Ministry is more than just a book. It's a testament to the strength, resilience, and unwavering faith.
Get your copy of The Church Girl by acclaimed author Stephanie Seaton. This compelling story follows a young woman's journey of redemption through faith and community after straying from the path of righteousness. Rediscover her purpose and meaning in life. Available now on popular online book sites. Don't miss out on The Church Girl, a transformative tale resonating with the power of faith and self-discovery.
Thank you for tuning in. A live stream new episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show will be starting soon. With your host, minister, and author Stephanie M. Seaton. If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. I am so happy that you're tuning in with us tonight. Tonight, I have got Miss Julia Royston in the house. Let's welcome her. Welcome. How are you tonight, Miss Julia?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good,
I'm
great.
so glad that we're in the studio. We did it tonight.
Yay!
For those of you that don't know, we've got a backstory. We have been trying to get me on her platform for a couple months now, and we're gonna work it out. But I'm so happy that we're on the same time schedule tonight. She's in Eastern Standard Time, and I'm in Central, and we didn't communicate that in the beginning, so we were both logged in at different times. Wait, twice.
2 times.
But Miss Julia, again, I'm so happy to have you here. I was able to meet Miss Julia October of last year. We met at the Black Book Festival in Houston, Texas, and she had a table up towards the front area and was promoting her publishing company. And listen, just that in itself, to have in common, we're both Black women in publishing and authorship and just so many things in common. I definitely had to stop by her table and kind of see what she had going on. And so I'm glad we were able to, exchange information. Let me say this. This is the thing. Just because somebody does what you do doesn't mean you can't support them and promote them.
Absolutely.
We are not in competition with each other. So many times people are like, oh, well, I don't want to talk. Yes, we need to talk. We need to collaborate. We need to build together. And so I'm so glad that she had that like-mindedness as well. And here we are tonight to talk about all things Miss Julia tonight. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
My pleasure.
Now I'm going to break the ice. My very first question that I ask all of my guests, Miss Julia, please tell us, who is Julia Royston?
Julia Royston is a worship leader. Julia Royston is an author, a publisher, a speaker, called to be a teacher. My dad was a master teacher, but I'm really called to teach rather than, I've always wanted to be a teacher. No. No. But I always loved to sing. Music has always been my first love and really my first gift.
Okay.
But I didn't like the business of music. So therefore, I still have projects out there and available, but I don't like the business side of it. So it does whatever it does, Yeah. And I'm like, Lord, I'm not willing to, go against uh, what you told me and taught me, what my parents taught me. I'm just
Yeah.
not willing to go down that road. So it is
Yeah.
what it is. I did what he told me, and but that's basically who I am. I'm a lover of people. I'm positive. I enjoy what I do. Most people call me a workaholic. And I learned that directly from my parents. They worked night
Yeah.
and day. They were in ministry. My family were preachers and teachers, psalmists. So, I'm, Levitical tribe. That's just what we do. So that's basically me. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically me.
Well, I am so glad that you are not only a singer, which I didn't know that part. We didn't talk about singing at the conference. But I'm so glad that you are, helping other people as well with your motto. I'm looking at your motto here, and her motto is helping you get your message to the masses. Turn your words into wealth and be a book business boss.
That's
I,
it.
I like it.
That's
I
it.
like
That's
it. So, Miss Julia is the author of more than 130 plus books, including several that she's actually co authored with, sketchbooks as well as journals. She has published over 400 plus books, recorded 3 music CDs, and coached more than 300 plus to be published authors. Miss Adrienne Connors, you're her publisher, correct?
Yes.
She and I met at the Black Book Festival as well, and we have stayed in contact as well. Love Miss Adrian. Um, so, kind of tell us a little bit about what got you into authorship. Did you just kind of have a love for poetry? Kind of what started your authorship journey?
Well, career wise, I'm a certified librarian.
Okay.
School and academic, corporate. So my career has primarily probably been 40 years in librarianship, but that doesn't necessarily say that I've always wanted to write and always wanted to be an author. I
Right.
really have not. I'm a ravenous reader and loved everything about it. Even before I
Mhm.
could read, my mother read to me every night.
Mm.
But fast forward, college, graduated from getting ready to graduate from college, got married for the first time. Well, right out of college. I graduated from school in 85, got married in 1986. Fast forward, I was divorced by 1994. Crushed, devastated, the whole 9 yards. After that, I started journaling. I started writing. And even though I went through 2 master's degrees, whatever, doctorate, everything, I still wrote privately. I had those 80 count notebooks. Then fast forward, met my current husband 2005, got married in 2006. 2007, God says it's now time to put the book together. And I'm like, what book? He said, the book that you've had in those notebooks that you've been carrying. Because I moved a lot, changed jobs and all that good stuff. So therefore, for me, it was really a demand or a command from God. It's time to put the book together. So I'm different than a lot of people, even that I publish. Some of I've
Mhm.
always wanted to do it. Oh, I've dreamed about having a book with my name on it.
Right.
I never had that. Mine
Yeah.
was a command. But now, after I started it, I was on probably book 3, and I
Mhm.
went to Starbucks with a friend, and she said, "So how many books you think you're gonna write?" I said, "Oh, I don't know, maybe 3, maybe 5." And she said, "Well, then you need your own company." And so that's where I didn't plan on publishing anyone else. Just so that's really kind of the writing journey for me. It was really a command more than anything else. Loved it, loved the process. My first book was poetry, and I haven't
Mhm.
written another book of poetry since. It was just the
Oh,
first one.
the first
All of
one.
that writing had nothing to do with my ex-husband, had nothing to do with all that back there, as the
Yeah.
Paul says, forgetting those things behind. I really was looking forward. I really was. My book is very positive, very faith oriented. So it has nothing to do with he did, he said. No,
Right.
no, it
Right.
has nothing to do with that. And for me, that was really just powerful for me to be able to do that because it was very painful and a very horrible time.
Yeah.
But from there, God was like, I'm gonna bring you out, and it's gonna gonna be great. So, but you got to go
Yeah.
through this season here, and then I'll bring you out. So that's kind of how I got started
Yeah.
with the writing journey. Is really through pain and agony, and then
Mhm.
from pain pain and agony to picking up the pen to now I'm in full blown purpose, full
Yeah.
blown.
I would say for myself as well as all the clients, pretty much all the clients, other than maybe one client that I've had, it has always been pain driven.
Mm,
Some type of pain experience, and the Lord allowed them to go through, and myself as well, to go through the situation to get to the other side and then to write about it. Do
mhm.
you find this with most of the clients that you have as well in publishing?
There are a few that I've published that either had a business or they were a
Mhm.
ministry or they were a speaker and they
Right.
needed a product to go along with it. A lot of the authors that I work with that have actually a pain point is very, very difficult. It's very, very hard for them to get past the pain point. It's very hard for them sometimes to finish the book and get it out. And
Mhm.
it's whew, it's a
It's heavy.
struggle. It's warfare.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
and I tell people all the time, if you ever think about me, please whisper a prayer. I
Mhm.
know I may make it look glamorous and oh, it's just so wonderful, and it is warfare, sweetie. You need God to do this. You need God
Yeah.
to, especially when somebody has had a real stronghold by the enemy has had them in a lock in an abusive relationship or their
Yeah.
own, molestation, rape,
Mhm. Yeah.
any kind of horrible stronghold. And
Yeah.
he wants to keep them there. He wants to keep them there mentally,
Yeah.
physically, all of it.
Yeah.
And that's warfare on
Yeah.
their part to get delivered, but it's also warfare on my part to pull the words out of them and I have some who walked away and said, no,
Oh,
I
I get
can't.
it. Like,
And
you know,
I understand it. And they walked
oh,
away and said,
yeah.
I'm just not ready to put my words
Relive it.
on the paper. Even
Yeah.
reliving it, that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. You don't want to
Yeah.
relive it and go down that
Yeah.
road, smell, see things, feel things. You go through it all again, but you can't
Yeah.
get on the other side and be delivered. Some people I've just
Yeah.
said, you need a therapist, sweetie. You need, you need professional help, something that
Yeah.
I'm not qualified to give you.
Yeah.
So, it happens that way.
I know, for myself, when I started writing my first books, Julia, I did not realize that my writing and my books would turn into my therapy.
Right.
I had a lot of stuff that I needed to work through, and the Lord kind of, not kind of, the Lord used my books to help heal me. And then, in return, I started doing the publishing part of it. And now, of course, I'm helping the clients, but I tell all of them up front, and I'm sure you do too. I let them know it's going to get real.
Yeah.
It's going to get real because you're going to have to relive it, rethink it, and then you have to actually come back to all the details that you tried to forget.
Yeah. Well, the other
Because
thing too is people try to rush the process. I have
yeah,
a few clients now, they're like, okay, I'm in a hurry. No, you can't be in a hurry because one, you didn't bring me a whole manuscript. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
therefore, that's the business side of it. And then the other thing is,
yeah,
helping you work through it. No, there's no rushing it. So if you need to rush it, you need to go somewhere else. I can't help
yeah,
you. And then
yeah.
they realize nobody else wants to help me. So I guess yeah, it's going to take time. Well, first off, a lot of people forget.
Hmm.
And I worked for lawyers because that
Hmm.
was my first library to ever work in was law firm library. And I
Yeah.
used to see the sets of books that talked about intellectual property, but it
Mhm.
didn't resonate with me because I didn't have a book. I hadn't written any music to per
Mhm.
se. And
Yeah.
so I was still in undergrad, like my junior and senior year when I started working
Mhm.
in law firms. But it was a major law and area.
Right.
And I didn't really realize how important it was until now on the other side, where I
Now
do
you.
have all this intellectual property. I got
Yeah.
to tell people it's evergreen. Love.
Yeah.
It's not like a loaf of bread. I say it all the time. It's not like a loaf of bread. It don't get stale and molded. You just
No.
need to get it in front of new audiences. So,
Yeah.
that's hard for people to really understand. And what you put out into the market, and even as a publisher, this, their name is on the front, but your logo is still on the back, or your contact information is still inside. So I have to
Exactly.
stand behind. Other people don't care. I do.
Yeah. Oh,
I
trust
stand
me.
behind what I publish. Absolutely.
Listen, I have published one book that was very challenging for me to publish. This was the first project I published for someone else.
Hmm.
So I wasn't really knowledgeable about things, and I took on the project without knowing the content. Which now, I'm several in now, but that was my first one doing for somebody other than
Sure.
myself. And I did not read the content first, Julia, and it went against all my Christian beliefs.
I understand. I understand.
And listen, it hurt my eyes.
I
It hurt
understand.
my eyes, Julia. But I got through it, but it hurt my eyes, and I had to turn down the other 7. There were going to be a total of 8 in the deal, but I said no, I ain't gonna be able to do it.
Yeah.
The gentleman and I became really good friends, and I helped him, to be able to learn how to do it himself.
Right. I
Um,
understand.
but then there are times when there's some words, and you say, okay, listen, we're gonna work on this book, but let's change this word right here.
And then there's some who won't change a word. They
Yeah,
won't do any of that. So
yeah.
therefore, I have to walk away. I have
Hey,
to walk away
I
from it.
do too. But
I have to walk.
I think that's the good part about having Christian integrity. There are a lot of people that the dollar bill would make them close their eyes or just turn their hearts.
Right.
And I, like yourself, I was just like, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. We're going to have to either change it or I'll cancel your contract. No
Yeah.
worries.
No words. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no worries. We good.
Yeah.
We good. So how did you get into publishing? Did you self-publish originally, or kind of how did that work out for you?
Originally, I went with a publishing company, not traditional in any
Okay.
way, shape, or form. They're still in existence, but I realized after I paid them several $100s, I had done everything. And
Mm.
so it's still out there, but I've changed things inside and republished it under my own brand. So,
Right. Mhm.
even though most people say, you started and you self-published, I self-published with somebody else, and then I basically they say I self-published, but I consider BK Royston Publishing an independent publisher. And so, because I could traditionally publish with someone else if somebody accepted me. Um, I mean, there's just many, many things that I could do. But yeah, I started off with being about 4 books in, and
Okay.
then I had the first person come to me and they wanted a book of poetry. And they were like, whatever what you did for yourself, I want you to do it for me. But I'm gonna pay you. I said, you don't want to learn how to do it? No, I don't want to learn.
Yeah.
And so they said they wanted me to do it. And then from there, then I had to get serious. Then I had
Yeah.
to say, okay, but fortunately, I was raised in entrepreneurship because my father
Okay.
was a teacher in the day, and then we had a janitor service at night. So
Okay.
at the height
Okay.
of it, we had like 50 employees. Okay.
Okay.
So that's a lot
Mhm.
of people. So I typed
Yeah.
letters and contracts, and I started typing for him when I was 14. So
Wow.
therefore, business was kind of running through my veins and in my blood. I didn't
Sounds
really
like
think
it.
I was
Yeah.
gonna do it, because I was like, "Ooh, we're gonna be corporate. We're gonna be cute. We're
Yeah.
gonna." God said, "Hold on, sit your hind parts down. Hello."
Yeah.
So today it's extremely beneficial to be in entrepreneurship. I mean, I've worked a job and done entrepreneurship at night, and it's really you got to have both. I'm sorry,
No, I get
you
it.
really do.
So how long have you been? Because right now I work in the dental field, and I do dental field in the daytime, Monday through Thursday, and then every weeknight, and then every weekend I do entrepreneurship with all of my brands.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How long have you been living this double life? I call it the double
Well,
life.
well, I taught. So altogether, it's 17 years. So
Oh
February
my
25
gosh!
was 17 years.
Whoa!
Yes, ma'am. 2008. Come on. As
Woo!
they say, don't sleep on me. I've been in this
I
hustle and grind
see,
for 17
man.
years. So for the last 7, it'll be
Yeah,
7 years in May. I've
yeah.
been retired from teaching. So at
Okay.
55, I had to make that hard. It wasn't hard for
Decision.
me because I
Yeah.
was ready to
Mhm.
run, but it was a decision that so one of the things I did do is I extended my teaching certificate for 5 years. because just in case, I don't know what's going to happen, just in case something happened. So I retired in 2018. Then 2020 hit. I was rolling right along. 2020 came, and I was like, I'm getting ready to go under. Thank God I still got my teaching certificate, because I may have to go back into a school building. But fortunately, God blessed me and I came out of that. I lost 7 contracts in one day, but I had 17 by that summer. So I
Oh, praise
knew,
the Lord. Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah.
So it's just the whole point. So 17 years I've been in this, writing, helping other people write. I've had
Yeah.
ups, downs, in, out, bad, good,
Yeah.
success, what I felt like was failure, but it was just learning lessons. I rarely use the word failure, because it is all benefited. And as Romans 8:28 says, it's all gonna work for my good. And so it
That's
really has. So 17 years
right.
is a long time. Most
Yeah.
people go out of business in 3 to 5. I know a lot of people who started doing this, literary services, on whatever level,
Yeah.
especially in 2020. But you gotta love it. You gotta love it. And it's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
It is not for I've had people that I've actually trained
Mhm.
and mentored and said, "All right, you ready? Okay, we've gone through the whole course. You ready?" And they were like, "No, I just want to be an affiliate link to you." I'm like, "What? Girl, no, we
Yeah.
went through all of this so you could be." No, I mean, we can partner together. They didn't want that. I don't want that work.
Yeah.
I don't want to serve. I don't want to help nobody. No, I'm just gonna bring them to you, and then
Yeah.
then we have a referral agreement. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not.
Yeah, it is rewarding, yet it is challenging, especially when you are author yourself,
Yes,
with multiple businesses. I think I got about 4 or 5 different companies, and I see you have about 4 or 5 yourself.
absolutely,
So living the double life of working, working in corporate world,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
then coming home, doing hair and makeup and doing podcasts and interviews, and it's a whole nother world. That's
Yes,
why
it
I
is.
say
Yes, it
double life.
is.
But tell me about some of the other things that you've got going on. I mentioned that you have 5 other companies, in a nonprofit organization. Kind of tell us what you're doing in the community.
Well, one of the main things, my nonprofit is able to give books to people and young people and parents and families who cannot afford to buy the book.
Okay.
So BK Royston Foundation, that's basically what it does. So if you'd like to contribute and help us, go to bkroystonfoundation.org and help there. So BK Royston Publishing is faith-based and family friendly. So that's where the
Yeah.
children's books are inspirational. Then I do have a second company with urban fiction and the things that really don't go into the faith-based family friendly brand. And I had to ask God about that. I'm like, "Are
Yeah.
you sure?" He's like, "Don't leave money on the table, but be highly selective of what you will publish and what you won't." So that's Royal Media and Publishing. And
Okay.
then the Book Business Boss Consulting is there for people who have self-published or they're thinking about doing and they feel like, I'm confident to do these pieces, but I need somebody else to edit. I can do the format and layout, but I want my covers to be all that in a bag of chips. And
Right.
so that's for a la carte services. That's also for people who self-published and
Okay.
realize they've got a product,
Right.
but it's not moving. Or they
Yeah.
have a product and it's just like, what do I do with it now? And people are asking for more. So how do I
Mhm.
turn it into a business? So that
Right.
kind of that's gone from having one book to helping people publish, but then also some people come with an idea in their head, but they don't
Mhm.
even know where to go from there, what to
Right.
start, what that should even look like.
Right.
So the Book Business Boss Consulting is that, a consulting arm. And a lot of people say, "Well, I can self-publish. I don't need you." You're absolutely right. You really can. But after 17 years, I really am becoming a student of the market. Some people want a niche and they only want to do anthologies, or they only want to do memoirs, or they only want to do poetry. And that's fine. But me, I'm striving to try my hand at all the genres and see where they go and see where they can be positioned and what places they can be in. And especially get to the audiences who really want what I have. And so
Mhm.
therefore, so then besides that, then of course I've written like 50 songs. So therefore, Juju Forey Music Publishing is my
Mhm.
publishing arm. And then Julia Royston Enterprises is my teaching arm.
I love
So
it.
that's different. Mhm.
I love it. I do. I
So
do.
therefore, if I had it to do all over again, I confess, I would have had like a Royston Enterprises and had them all up there. But you don't know until you know. You don't
Yeah.
know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And probably 10 years ago, they told you to have a separate Facebook page for every book you write. Now, how would
Mm.
I look with 140 Facebook pages?
That's a lot of
Like
pages.
hair be standing all over my head. I wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
think
That's a lot of
straight. And
pages.
I'm like, no, we need to condense and be concise. Now, if the brands can't be together, I'm okay with that. And
Yeah.
what that looks like, because ASCAP is the music Amazon. The BMI is the Amazon or Barnes and Noble music arm. So therefore, it's just a different platforms and different ways to do it. But if you just type in Julia Royston in Google, you find a whole lot about me.
Very good. Well, I think you're doing an amazing job just
Thank you,
making
thank you,
yourself
and so are
available.
you.
And thank you. And finding the need, and just, putting yourself out there to be able to help people. Because that's what, from everything I've heard about what you're saying, Julia, and your brands, is all of it is helping and giving
Yes,
back. You're making yourself available however the consumer needs you to be. And
exactly,
that's what
exactly.
it's about.
Yeah, I can
I've
lead you
got,
to water, but I can't
yeah,
make you drink. I strive to give you the tools, and my friends are all like, "Girl, all that content you got." I said, "Yes, it's here, but it's like having a grocery store sometimes." And
yeah.
people like, "No, I don't want that. I want something quicker. I want to hitch my wagon to somebody else and get there."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "I'll be here, moving one step at a time when you come back around, because it doesn't always work like that.
Right.
It can work for a while, but then people look like back and they see somebody hitch and they were like, "Oh no, it's gonna cost you to be here. It's gonna,
Oh, yeah.
pay to play. You just can't hitch
It's a
your
lot of
wagon behind and
sacrifice.
just ride on and fly. It doesn't work like that." So
It's a lot of
I just do what
sacrifice.
I do. Yeah, it is. It really, really is. And
Yeah.
if you're willing to do it, I'm like you. I still work. I'm
Hmm.
thinking about work. I am working on something. I'm writing something. I'm doing something, even
Yeah.
if I'm not physically doing something. My
Yeah.
husband is very frustrated because he's retired too. He just wants to do, I prepared to be, but I'm like, no, dude, this is what I really love.
It's your
I'm
passion.
creative to my soul.
It's a
And so
passion. Yeah.
it really is.
Yeah.
I'm a creative to my heart, and I'm always ideas come, and that's one of the main reasons why I do events, because I get ideas, even not only just of what I need to write, but how to help other people.
Yeah. I'm
Absolutely.
right there with you. Listen, we're right there together. There have been times when I found myself promoting my clients more than I was promoting myself. And then I was like, wait a minute, Stephanie, you better start promoting yourself.
Yeah. Well, you have a catalog, and after so
Yeah.
long, you got to
Yeah.
remember. Hold on, hold on, hold on. You have an actual catalog that you need to promote yourself, and
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing, especially when we
Yeah,
get older.
you can get caught up in just the helping, and I really love the projects that I'm working on. And when I start reading the client stories and I know the history behind it,
Exactly.
you just want people to read these stories and to really
Yes.
just be caught up. So
Absolutely.
I think that's the passion aspect of it. I was thinking about what you said just a few minutes ago of wanting to write in different genres, and this at the beginning of this January and February, I took a chance, Julia, and I just wrote my first Christian romance book.
Yay! Come on
And
through.
yes, listen, I was just like, well, most of my books had began to be about, trauma and healing from trauma and this and that. And I said, you know what? I want to write a book about what the ideal Christian marriage and courtship would look like.
Mm.
And so I just, I wrote what I'm actually in waiting for. I'm actually in waiting for that. And so I went ahead and wrote a story about that. And I'm actually going to work on a project, Miss Julia, where I'm thinking of something suspenseful, which I've
Yeah,
never, I didn't see that for
absolutely.
myself. But now that I'm
Absolutely.
out here, I'm like, I don't have to be just limited.
No, no, no,
Mhm.
no. So I
Yeah.
embellished my husband and I's story.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the title of it, it's It's the Women of the Fellowship series, and the
Mm.
women are Jillian and Vernice, which is her best friend, and
Uh-huh.
Irma, which is
Okay.
their mentor in church. You know how you always got
Yeah.
the mothers, the older ladies, and
Yeah.
they're trying to
Yeah.
keep young women active in
Yeah.
ministry, active. And so that it basically is an embellishment of my own story. So Jillian is the main character, and the one she's always loved is Byron.
Okay.
And so that's my husband. He's Brian, and so I embellished that story. Even the editor said, "You forgot. You start saying Brian." I said, "I know. I'm sorry." Brian instead of Byron. But anyway, this is why you got editors, right? But
Yeah.
it really
That sounds
is.
fun. Yeah.
That market is very loyal. Fiction is very loyal.
Yeah.
You find a group and people who enjoy what you write, they'll
Yeah.
only read more of it. Now, is it a series or is it just one?
I'm not sure yet, because I'm gonna tell you, at one point I thought about doing some plays, and I thought to myself maybe about 2 weeks ago, I was like, I should do a series. And
I'm gonna tell you, the book clubs are gonna want. They'll say, well, what else is next? Because
yeah,
I just met with one very recently, within the past month, and they were like, okay, so what's next? Because they have basically read everything that I have finished, and I'm
uh-huh.
working on another series, but I only have book one. And
How
the
many are in your
president,
series?
and it's 3 so far. And in that one, in this new series, and it's messy. It's church business.
Mm.
And so behind me is the first cover, but I changed the cover already and looking to change it again. I constantly like, no, it's not hot enough. Oh no, it's not. So I'm always looking to change the cover, but it's real. So she read
Yeah.
book 1 and was mad herself. Where's book 2? I'm like, I'm not bringing that to you until I have all 3 books, the solution and everything. So be careful, because
you're really making me think now, because
the
this
book
is
clubs, they
so
fall
out
in
of
love
the
with series.
Listen, Julia, it's out of the boat for me. I've just been consistently about my testimonies, but I done told all
I
my
got you.
testimonies now. Well, not all of them, but the
Right,
majority
but,
of them that induced healing. I've told all of those. And so now I'm moving over here into, okay, what's next?
Yeah. And don't leave out a kid's book. You got to do one of them.
Well, I actually have 2 that I contributed to my son, and then my 9-year-old son just actually wrote a children's book in October.
Okay, good. You got to be. I believe everybody needs to be in that space.
He said he has one more.
Yeah.
No, I think he told me he's going to write 2 more.
Yeah.
2 more.
But you need to be in the children's book space. We really need to be in that space.
We do, and we definitely need to be inspirational,
especially with African American children. We're still only 12% of the market.
That's it.
That's it. 26% is the animal. Now we're 12%, but all the other diverse groups are less than us. So we're the highest diverse group.
Okay.
And
well, you're schooling me. You are helping me tonight.
I help you. I don't mind dropping dimes. I'm at that place where that I can do that, where I'm comfortable. I'm not, it's not a trade secret. You can Google it and find out. But 12% is African American, 26% is the animal. That's what I'm trying to say. 50% is white, of course. The characters are white. 26% is the animal, because it's easy to do.
Yeah.
A brown bear, a polar bear, a bird, a giraffe, that's easier. And especially in the traditional world, they love the animals, as opposed to having to deal with, do they have dreads? Do they have Afro puffs? Are they brown enough? Are they light enough? Are they, that whole, how am I going to attract the largest audience? But I want all shades. I want biracial babies to be, I want all them to be represented. And they deserve a book of their own. They deserve one that represents them. So representation.
I'm gonna definitely tap into that market. I actually found it easier to do the children's book, of course, than even my adult books.
Oh, absolutely. They're much easier to. Now they have to have a good story. I've been doing like Read Across America. I was in 4 schools in 1 week, right? So I was like, all right, I was doing our research and development. I'm like, all right, tell me what you like to read. The whole 9 yards. But the pieces, they still want a great cover. They
Oh
still
yeah.
want a good
Yeah.
plot. Don't put just anybody and anything on the cover. They don't.
Oh
They
yeah. Yeah.
take some time. Make sure that it makes sense. Make it make sense of something. You can have a little fantasy fiction, people
Yeah.
flying and disappearing and
Yeah.
superpowers. They like that too. But it's got to make sense. It's got to be
Oh yeah.
somebody that they can relate to. So if you're
Oh yeah.
thinking about it, come on in.
Definitely something relatable for our community would
Yeah,
be my target audience.
absolutely, absolutely.
Um, what are three things about your books that you want people to gain? Is there a certain theme to your books, or what would you like for people
Um,
to gain?
well, speaking of children, so they told one little girl asked me, "So Miss Julia, how are you so positive?"
Mm-hmm.
So one of the main things is I want the books to everybody just didn't have an easy life. The
Mm-hmm.
silver spoon is not necessarily in their mouth, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not without problems. But I still want them to have a positive outlook, like they got to work through something. Well, that's probably number one. Is that I wanted to. I know it's everything doesn't come out a bed of roses, but I know that there's a struggle, but I want you to find solutions. I want you
Right.
to come out on the other end,
Mm-hmm.
clothed, as the Bible said, and still in your right mind. The second
Yes. Yeah.
thing, I want you to be informed. I want
Mm-hmm.
you to be informed and educated, trained. So I have books that actually do that. I have no problem sharing secrets step by step,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards. Because I'm not going to live forever. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And so
None of us.
therefore, but and I'm finding that people are
Yeah.
dying younger and younger. So therefore, it's part of my legacy to
Yeah.
leave for the next generation. Tony
Mm-hmm.
Robbins says success leaves clues. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, I want to leave clues for the next generation. So
Yeah.
positivity and information and informational. And then finally, I want to leave something that people enjoy.
Yeah.
When I met with that book club, they were yelling and screaming and back and forth, and now and they're animated and passionate. And I'm like, I am in my heaven. I want you to read something like, "What's next? I want I want next." I'm seeking to create ravenous readers, no matter what the format, whether it's
Yeah.
ebook, whether it's audio, whether it's paperback, hardback, however you get it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
wanting to create a hunger for more and to be literate as much as
Mm-hmm.
possible for adults and definitely for children for the next generation. So those are really kind of the three things that I'm really looking for. And then of course, to be strengthened spiritually.
Yeah.
If last but definitely not the least is
That's right.
be spiritually
Sure.
empowered
Yeah.
and to the next level. And I'm struggling with that area because because I think the religious world is doing good, but they don't, the empowerment and all that. They get so much of it, they're like, I don't need any more of that. So I probably sell more children's books at church events than
Mm-hmm.
anywhere else because they're
Yeah.
like, we need to pour into the next generation. So we get
Yeah.
so much devotional, we get so much of that that they're really not drawn to that. Like I said, I always do my research, like what is popping off my table, what's jumping off, and I have multiple genres, so I'm able to do that to really see what they're attracted to. And then if they don't buy anything, I'm like, well, what do you want to read? What would you
Mm-hmm.
like to read? And
Mm-hmm.
then I find that out. So that's
What
what.
would you tell a new business owner when they're getting started? Say they're feeling discouraged, don't know, really how to hang in there. What would you say to a new person going into business?
Business period or the publishing business?
The publishing or authorship.
Authorship specifically. You'll always go back to your why. You always go back to you. You always. I tell people all the time, you have your why handy.
Mm-hmm.
Always have your why handy because you'll be disappointed by people. You'll be disappointed by events. You'll be disappointed by so many things, a
Mm-hmm.
multiplicity of things. But if you have your why handy and always in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
that will help you. The second thing is you may need a coach or a mentor. You
Right.
may need someone to actually help you walk through the process and get to the place where they already are. Now make sure that they've been there.
Right.
Don't let anybody take your money and
That's
they
right.
haven't been to where you're trying to go. They haven't
Yeah.
worked through what, and you have to be discerning. You have to get references. You have to get people to refer them, and if necessary. But you're possibly going to need a mentor, and then third, you're going to have to invest in
Mhm.
what your weakness is.
Yeah.
So returning to your why sometimes has to be not only just why did you get into the business, and if it's just for money, whew, that's going to be
Mhm.
disappointing. That's going to be a
Yeah.
real struggle because
Yeah.
some days it's going to be great, and some days your pockets might be empty, or no
That's
one
right.
bought anything, or
That's
nobody
right.
signed a contract,
That's
and you
right.
still have to keep going
That's
even
right.
when that happens. But
That's
you
right.
always have to also have um, someone else in mind. What does
Mhm.
somebody else need? Just like you said before, always seeking to help somebody else. Not just
Yeah.
what you need and what you want,
Yeah.
but helping somebody else. And when you're able to ease a pain point, solve a problem, answer a question,
Yeah.
you'll be in business. You'll
Yeah.
stay in business. Period.
Definitely. Definitely. I just kind of want to know a little bit more about you, Miss Julia, as the woman. Tell us a little bit about what was family like growing up. Were you I know you had the family business thing going on. Were you quiet? Were you outspoken? Tell us a little bit about Julia growing up.
Oh my lord. So my parents said I would yell and wake them up. No screaming, no hollering, but I'd just be like, "Hey," even when I was a baby in the crib. So my mother
Okay.
said I was always talking. And as a child, that was what I got in trouble for, was talking
Talking.
in class. And it
Yeah.
didn't matter where they moved me in the room, I
Yeah.
was going to be finding out who the new people were and what they did on this side of the room. And, ooh, are we closer to the bathroom? Or are we closer to the pencil sharpener? Oh, whatever. I was always running my mouth. But when I
Yeah.
was born, I had so many issues. My feet went left to right. Had glasses by the time I was 8 years old. I had a
Mhm.
speech impediment. I had to have a speech for 2 years, first and second grade, one-on-one with the speech therapist. Oh gosh, I always had to wear orthopedic shoes.
Yeah.
And just so I cost my parents a whole lot of money. I know
Yeah.
that money didn't grow on trees, but they had to take to the doctor. I had ear issues, so I failed hearing tests. Woo! I was the oldest, and I cost them a lot. There was a lot
Mhm.
of doctor visits. But at
Yeah.
8 years old, I sang my first solo in
Praise the Lord.
church. And
Yeah.
after that, and I didn't watch the choir director. I was so nervous. I closed my eyes and I had the microphone at 8. Had the
Yeah.
microphone in my hand, and when I opened my eyes, the church was standing. And then that was
Wow.
it. My parents were like, "Yes, finally. We done
Yeah.
figured out what." So I had
You're
everything
calling. Yeah.
musically. Yeah, everything
Yeah.
music you can think of, from the 8-track, and then I had the whole turntables, 2 speakers, the cassette 8-track, and the record. Oh, baby, you could tell
Are
me
you an
nothing.
alto?
I was a first soprano when I was younger. Now, I don't know what
Okay.
I am. I haven't sang in so long. Child, I was a state
Hey.
minister of music. I directed choirs.
Yeah.
On all levels. So therefore, music was just something that I picked up on quickly and easily. So I was in the marching band, first chair, piccolo, flute. So music has just being a creative has just
Yeah.
been kind of my life, and all of that. And so
Mhm.
travel and church conventions and
Yeah.
woo, so getting on planes, trains, and automobiles, on buses,
Been
singing
going a long time.
choirs and
Yeah.
solos for preachers, and child, that's been my whole life. So for people who've known me most of my life to say, "You're not leading worship nowhere," I'm like, "No, I'm moving with books now." And
Yeah.
so therefore, so I won an award for my Terrence the Terrific series. And when I did that, I was just so excited. I think it's got three awards. And when I did that, I sat down and I was very appreciative and all of that. But God spoke to me and said, "Are you good now?" Because I
Mm.
always said, "I want to thank the Stellar Awards for this. I want to thank the Grammy Academy for this award." So I always thought I would win awards for music.
Right.
And that didn't happen on that way. So
Yeah.
therefore, God said, "Are you good?" I said, "I'm good, God. I'm good."
Oh, that's amazing.
Still, it creeps up every now and then, but I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." I did not have to. betray my call, my morals
Mhm.
for an honor or for
Yeah.
spins
Yeah.
or for anything like that. He did
Yeah.
it anyway. So God is
Ooh,
I'm
that's
proud.
the
I'm
kind of
proud.
God we serve, right? That is the
Ah,
kind of God we serve.
absolute,
Yeah.
absolute. That's a little bit about me, which is kind of
Yeah.
a lot, but I've loved
Ooh,
it.
some good
That's
stuff.
life.
Some good stuff. So it sounds like faith played a part in your life
Oh,
from an early
absolutely.
age. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
God's been with me all the way. And if you're in business and you're thinking about being in business, be sure and go to God because you're
Oh
going to
yeah.
need him every step of the way. And this
Oh yeah.
climate that we're in the world that we're in, prior
Mhm.
to his soon return,
That's right.
we need him to lead us and guide us and direct
Mhm.
us and instruct us and comfort us and care for us and woo, all that
Yeah.
good stuff and to
Yeah.
tell us and remind us
Yeah.
that I'm here. I never leave you, never forsake you. I got your back. I'm with you, top to
That's
bottom,
right.
front to back, all around. I got you. Yeah.
Listen, Miss Julie, it has been amazing having you here
Thank
on
you.
the
Thank you.
platform tonight. For all of you that are watching, in the comments section, I have posted a couple of times all of Miss Julia's links, social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, threads, at Julia Royston, Julia A.K. Royston. So if you look in the comments, you will see the opportunity to contact with her. As we get ready to come to a close, I'm going to give you 3 words, Miss Julia, and I want you to pick the word that stands out the most for you. Healing, empowerment, or transformation.
Um, I think the transformation brings healing.
Mm-hmm.
Transformation brings empowerment and transformation really kind of go together. But
Yeah.
your willingness to yield yourself to the transforming power of
Mm.
Jesus Christ and His Holy Spirit
Yeah.
is the key to it all.
Yeah.
Because He'll bring you the empowerment when you yield yourself to His transformation.
That's
When you
right.
yield yourself, I'm going to write that book one day. The one yes. Just say
Mm.
one yes.
Woo! I like that. Woo!
One to one yes,
Mm.
because
Mm. Mm.
sometimes if when I lived in Texas, the mothers in my home at church at that time would say that, tell the Lord yes. And
Yeah,
you think you be telling him yes,
but we don't.
but we don't. We're saying it with our lips, but our heart is far from it.
Yeah.
And so the beauty is
Mm.
when you
Mm.
say
Mm.
it,
Mm.
and you really mean it and you yield yourself, willing to
Yeah.
leave everything,
Mm.
willing to
Surrender.
everything
Yeah.
total surrender.
Yeah.
But not only just surrender with your mind and I surrender with
Everything.
my
Mm.
mouth. When
Yeah.
you're willing to walk away from everything you ever known to a place like Abraham that
Yeah.
he's going to show you, he ain't told you. He's just going
Yeah.
to show you. Are you willing to walk? So
Yeah.
the transformation is the word I take.
Ooh, you are
Because
dropping
that
some
will
good
bring
words.
healing and
Ooh.
empowerment to you because it's
Yeah.
going to take his power to transform you. And he's going to heal you as
Yeah.
you transform. But you got to tell him yes. Got that one
Ooh.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one real yes.
That
Yeah.
one really, that one
Yeah.
real yes that
Yeah.
before I got married, that he said you got to purge. So my ex's wedding ring, I had to sell that pawn shop. I didn't care what they was giving me. He said, "Don't
Yeah.
worry about how much they giving you. Just you got to get rid of it."
Yeah.
Another
Mm-hmm.
guy had asked me. I still had his ring. He said that got to go.
Mm-hmm.
38 bags, black garbage bags of clothes. Nothing wrong with
Mm.
them. Some of them with the still stickers
Listen.
on 'em. That
Listen.
represented the old life and not the new life.
Listen.
So how much
You
are you willing to
you
transform?
talking my business. The Lord had me. The
How
Lord had
much are
me
you
clean.
willing?
Listen. He had me clean out my closet. I
Exactly.
had to leave half to
Yeah,
make room for my future husband. I had to go
exactly.
through old boxes of papers and
Absolutely.
pictures and stuff, and
Absolutely.
I had to clean it all out.
All out. Get rid of the
All
picture.
of
Get rid of because you can't walk into the new with that
it.
old
There you
still
go.
on.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And the
Yeah.
residue of it and any of the parts of it. You
Yeah.
can't
It's
go into the
it's hard to have a reset when you still got old stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you got to be careful what you say because life
Mm,
and death is in the power of your tongue.
that's
And
right.
you have whatsoever you say. So you can't
There
get
you
to
go.
the new. If
There
you're
you
still
go.
talking about, oh,
The
now I'm not
old.
talking about
Yeah.
testimony. Look where he brought me from, but you
No,
still stuck in that. You
the
still
stuff.
right
Yes.
there, stuck. Not like
Yeah.
he delivered me, he brought me out. You still in that, rehashing that, rehearsing that over and over. You're not
Hmm.
ready. You're not ready.
Yeah.
So say
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. That real yes.
That real yes, that'll make you change
Yeah.
and relocate
Transformation.
and change your behavior and change sometimes your friends.
Change everything. What I
Yeah.
say, Julia, is, and what I say is the difference between religion and relationship.
Yeah,
Religion is when we say 30 times that we've surrendered, but we still doing the same thing.
absolutely.
Relationship is that one time we really say yes and we actually fall out flat, Lord, whatever you
Yeah,
say, and we
exactly.
actually do it.
Right.
So
And
that's
it
what I
can't be
say.
like Santa Claus. You can't like give him a list. You
Mm-mm.
gotta put your list away because you don't
Yeah,
know what he
yeah,
has planned
yeah.
versus what you had in mind.
You gotta step out the boat
Sometimes they
on the
don't match.
water.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
gotta you gotta become a water walker.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we gotta do. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
Miss
for having me.
Julia. You're welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here tonight. We have had an amazing conversation tonight with Miss Julia Royston. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight for the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. If you have not subscribed, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you can continue to watch all of the current episodes. We will have a replay on Thursday night, as this is spring break. So I'm going to be going on vacation. So we will have a
Good for
replay
you. Good
episode
for
that
you.
will be coming on Thursday night, but we'll be back on next week. This Sunday night, we will have the men's podcast, and they will be talking to author Jason Boaz. So they will be talking on this coming Sunday night about men in the church. Okay, so we definitely want you to tune in to the platform again Sunday night at 7 o'clock. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Miss Julia. Have an amazing night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.